sides, you know. You got to go doing what you love, man, you know.
Oh no, I'm not. It's the other way. I'm not like. I'm more like. This is the way to test it. Am I really tired? Because once I had in the 90s, my second time back at university, there was one period where I got some flu, and I was sick as fuck. I never was like knocked down.
Yeah.
That was the first time. When I was at Davis, we lived in Sacramento. There was a period where I had 100+ fever for like a month.
I remember you
know,
talking
super
about
hella sick.
towards the end, right?
No, that was when. That was a little earlier. That was before we had kids. So it was like 09.
Okay.
But like.
Margano apparently got it.
Really?
Yeah.
The COVID?
Yeah.
Always surprised.
Really?
I mean, he's out, dude. He's out and about.
I mean, he thinks he had it. He was sick for like 3 weeks, like in March, you know.
Right.
I had a crazy sickness, but that was like February, like before anything really big happened.
I definitely want to dig a little deeper.
I was
that's a little
I was
shallow.
sick for like
Well,
weeks.
we're almost to the
3-4
CR, but yeah, we'll get in there.
Do the Caltrans thing here.
That's all right. I'm a pit hog.
I love digging pits too.
Yeah. Oh, here, I'll let you go there. Get in there. Margano. I can only imagine how busy that guy is.
Yeah, dude. No, but he's the AE for geoderma right now.
That's what I mean.
He's a fucking AE for geoderma, and he's in like his 3rd year, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, he's super productive. He understands what's going on. You know, on the publishing side for sure. Like I said,
and he's hounding me. He's hounding me like, "Where's that paper, dude? You gotta get that paper out."
Right?
I'm like, "Dude, you're
That's how you do it.
Yep.
Well, that's what I said. That's where I talked. You didn't get to. Did you know Lucas at all?
Yeah, we actually.
Because he was in. Yeah. The same deal, but that guy's like so low key Brazilian. But then you're just like, he's just cranking papers out, and he knows how to do the whole thing.
Yeah.
To deal with the editors, deal with the comments, deal with the letter, I mean all the the churn of it, you know.
Yeah.
And knows how to come up with cool ideas to make graphs and figures and write cool shit and cite his work. Like that's all the shit I'm bad at. Like I don't even have an EndNote catalog.
Yeah.
I haven't read a paper in years almost. I don't even do it now because there's not time for it, you know.
Well, I think I told you I'm trying to front load my production, you know, so that get that out of the way, you know.
Yeah. Well, I got the papers. I don't read any papers now.
I like doing the research part probably more than the teaching.
Yeah.
But it's also because I just don't have a lot of teaching experience.
Right.
But and I'm a little bit solitary. I like to just hang out with my ideas and just read and write and you know.
Well, no, it's amazing. It's an amazing opportunity, and if you could keep it going, because that's the nature of your job, great. If not, my biggest problem, like I said, is I'm enjoying the fact that my job doesn't have to be research only and it doesn't have to be publish only. That I've gotten involved in all these really cool things that eat up all my time, and I'm not that efficient as a teacher.
Yeah.
Right. I'm doing all the work myself, and I've set up classes that have a lot of work because I don't just do tests. Right. Everything's like raw and me trying to figure it out. So that just takes up a lot of time.
Still like soil moisture down here. It's the mid-August. It's 105 right now in the valley. Yep. But this andesitic material has always been pretty good water holding capacity. At least that's how it was in the Merton.
Well, that's and I mean this is where your knowledge of andesol formation is way better than you would admit, because you've worked in andesols for what? I mean, for sure as a researcher over the last 8 years.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you've been actively investigating andesols and their properties in vineyards, in other settings as you've gone forward.
Yeah. So well, in Lake County, that was all extrusive igneous material, all kind of like this.
Yep. Older.
Lower, like.
Yep.
2,500 feet, but they're just clay factories, and they all just you have these all these different parent materials, but the climate tends to dominate.
And they've been there for a lot longer, right? I mean, when's all that Kanaktai?
No, it's recent.
So that stuff was
younger
residual.
than this.
Huh.
It's younger than this.
And that's why it's like a interesting. It's like they talk about whatever the magma, wherever the magma came from.
It
was kind of a remnant, remnant
chambers, yeah.
Because I mean that's 100 miles south of the Triple Junction.
Yeah.
Right? I mean it's pretty far from the active subduction, so it's some remnant of.
But there's active volcanism. They did.
Right.
There's risk.
That's why there's hot springs. That's why there's.
Yeah, there's risk assessments there and everything for that Kanaktai going.
Right. Clean lake. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I fell into it on my first, my master's too was, those were andicaplohumolts as well. Or no, were they full Voudans? They were ultic. They were weathered on basalt, on this basalt plug that's just west of Olympia, Washington, that didn't get glaciated. It's past the southern end of the glacial maxima, which was basically Seattle and then dumping out right towards Tacoma.
Yeah.
And so this place I worked at my master's was this older basalt flow that was not eroded by glaciers or had been completely eroded through other factors, and it had these clay-rich, low bulk density soils.
Yeah.
And they were less than 1, and they were clayey red, pretty deep and gooey.
Do you want to pass me the small sharpshooter there? Thank you, boss. So we're at like 100.
Out Shasta mud flow, looking at like really recent Lahar mud flows, and then I worked in Lassen for 3 years, and I got to see all the Vitry Zerans and all these other like.
You were up there for 3 years, huh?
Yeah, 3 summers.
Nice, man.
So my last thoughts on andisols are these like loamy sands. Sandy loam 12 is like a super fine textured soil in Lassen that's not thermally altered, right? They're all recent. They don't weather a lot because there's so much snow and it's cold, and so you got all these just coarse textured, coarse loamy skeletal.
Fun to dig, huh?
Not bad until you get the hardest part always. The hardest part, unless you're in the till, the hardest part is the dense till interface, like where you're actually hitting where the dense till is packed on the rock.
Man, it seems like you can tell I'm getting close to the CR because it seems like the clay's picking up.
Yep. Interfaces are the coolest spot in soils. I mean, what's comical about everybody, the surface horizons are great for all the biology because there's so much rhizosphere, so much root action. That's where the energy and carbon's pumped in, and so there's the most activity there. But man, where the stuff is accumulating at interfaces, cracks, discontinuities, like that's where all the cool shit is from a soil nerd perspective. Like, wow, look at this micro clay increase. Right?
Yeah, right.
Right at the contact,
Spade is 30 centimeters, right?
I think. Why don't you get your tape measure and test it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad I brought that.
Totally.
So the
this
spade
talking about
is
soil
40.
depth class ultimately, right? Why do you care how deep you're going, Stuart?
Well, I'm curious how deep the soil is for one thing, and to how deep it is to CR. So yeah, so depth class.
When you mean deep, do you mean deep as in how far you can dig, or is there a number that goes with that you can assign as a quantitative depth class?
Well, a little from column A, a little from column B. I am curious how deep the soil is, just from a pure scientific curiosity perspective. And then yeah, there's depth classes to root restrictive layers or drainage classes to redox.
Cool.
I so far haven't seen too much redox, but nor have I seen any root restrictive layers. And so the sharpshooter is 115 centimeters, not 125 centimeters. So we're at about 115 there, another like maybe 15 centimeters. So we're at about 130 centimeters depth. So that's already getting us into a deep soil, into very deep, correct?
Yeah, so I guess the point to be made is that the way that people have dug in soil survey and in taxonomic applications is to about 150 centimeters or 60 inches when you convert to the English system.
So we're getting some of this para material, and there's actually, I mean, is this weathered?
Yeah, that's all weathered in place andesitic material.
Yeah,
and you can see the differential weathering of the white colored the crystals that are in there versus the matrix and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
we'll have lots of good shots of that. We're gonna pull some of that stuff out. So I was just trying to tease out. So the depth class stuff is all related to use and management. So now I'm going back to teacher mode.
Yep.
Use and management is the foundation of the soil survey products. Understanding what soils are on the landscape and how they vary across the landscape to guide their use for different management applications, from agriculture, range, forestry, urban development, septic tank, leach fields, all those types of applications.
So one of the things we can't get because we're doing this virtually, is that as I'm digging this pit, I'm getting to the bottom, and it's sort of grinding at the bottom of the pit, and I'm pulling up these paralithic.
Are those black nodules on there? You see some dark black material in that?
Yeah. I don't know. Is that
it's
ash?
Manganese nodules.
Manganese
accumulation.
Yeah, it's manganese oxides on there, huh?
Yes.
It looks like it to me. But yeah, so I think we're getting to the point where we're starting to kind of grind on this paralithic material. So we're grinding on this diggable bedrock that which I won't give that away, but we've got this diggable bedrock, and I think we're kind of at the point of refusal here at the bottom of the pit. So I don't want to bias anything, but I think we're kind of just grinding away at these chunks of.
So one of both
chunks of paralithic material here.
So just for some street cred, both Stuart and I have worked as primary mappers, at least digging the holes component for NRCS, and so I don't know what Stuart's role was, but when I worked in Lassen Park with Andrew Conlin and a few other amazing scientists, my job was to certify the bottom of the hole. So now it's my turn to get in and poke at it a little bit more with the rock bar and see what I find. You don't get all the thunder, Stuart.
This is the virtual field trip, man.
I know.
This is fun.
And like I said, that's where
I think
it up and it's like a freaking Neapolitan candy. It's got colorful minerals, a gray matrix, and if you pick at some of those, they're completely just coming apart as you pick at them.
And there's hematite in there weathering out.
Right, so like, but you could go and look at each one of these minerals individually, and some of them are literally just a pocket of nothing, and some are still, some are like rust in place, and some are, somewhat, kind of resistant, but not really. It's all just spongy stuff.
Amphibole, maybe? Weathering out. Plagioclase.
The good call on the soil moisture down in this finer textured stuff. It's really cool that it's in there,
Yeah, and that's some of the vineyards up in like whatever Apple Valley area or whatever up there, like up in Apple Hill. That's where it is.
Yeah,
Placer. All those vineyards that are on the andesite like have this really high vigor problem because they tap into that soil moisture.
Right. They can't control the depth like they can with the stuff in the San Joaquin soil. It's like only so deep.
Yeah, and it's just and it's just always wet down at 150 centimeters,